What's up, my Real World Podcast audience? How you guys doing? I'm back with another exclusive interview, and on the phone,
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
I have with us Miss Hattie Gilbert. How are you doing, Miss Hattie Gilbert?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed to be here with you. How you feeling, Rel?
I'm great. I'm blessed that you're here with us. I'm blessed that you gave me this opportunity to sit down with you and help clear some things up and get some things together.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, Miss Gilbert, you've been gone for 13 and a half years. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct. 13 and a half long ones.
13 and a half long ones. Now, Miss Gilbert, within that 13 and a half years that you've been locked away, what is it that you've been doing with yourself in there? Have you been just getting in trouble? Have you been taking programs? What is it that you've been doing to, help better yourself and kill time?
Well, the true question should be, what haven't I been doing? Because everything that I can do, I have been doing. There was this group that I was one of the founding members of it, and it's called Time Group, and it stands for Taking Impossible Moments Easily. And it was a group of about 55 people or less, of people who just had a long time. And we come together and we did community service hours together. We put on things for, they call it a farm where I'm at. Even though there are no cows, they call it a farm. And we just put on entertainment, education, all kind of events for the population. I've been a facilitator because I'm an excellent speaker, as you can tell, as we've conversed. I facilitated Beauty and the Best, which is like a self-esteem group. I've done parenting classes because I left a child behind. So I know how the struggle is trying to be a parent behind these bars. I've also gotten into some recovery. I've done CODA, which is Codependence Anonymous. I've not only chaired those meetings, but also facilitated my own for several years. I've gotten into victims awareness, just being more mindful of what my actions, not only how it affected my victim, but the neighborhood, the community, just people in general. I've also been a guest motivational speaker just because everyone are the same. Like, no matter what ethnic background you come from, no matter what your crime is, we all have this shared struggle, which is during this time. And I have a light that shines, so I want to share that with people so that they can know how to get through this time. I've done Cage Your Rage. I was part of the Second Chance Greyhound program, which basically we just take dogs from the track and just teach them how to be house pets, which was very rewarding and humbling because it just shows me that no matter how deep your scars is, regardless if it's a dog or a human, that you can heal from it with the proper training. I've been a peer mentor with, the ladies here in the several housing units that I've been in. And spiritually, I've done like the Bible studies, and I've gone to church, and I've been a praise dancer and an altar giver, on the mental tip, I just constantly just enrich my mind with just reading books because that's all I can do. And on the physical side, I know how to lose weight. I know how to gain it. So I've definitely done all that I can. I've ran marathons, become part of the Biggest Loser. I've attended yoga. You might as well call me a yogi. And I work out from time to time.
Great. Well, it seems like you've been very busy in there, just, uplifting yourself and helping others in there. It sounds great. Now,
absolutely.
Now, you said you left behind a child. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your child?
I don't mind at all. When I left, she was 6. I had her 3 weeks after I turned 14, so we basically grew up together. We grew up together, and that was definitely a struggle because when the police came to my house, she was always terrified of cops her whole life for some reason, and it was almost like a premonition. She knew that I would be leaving by them, and I promised her that, I'll be back at 1, and I haven't been back home since. And, she'll be 20 in January now, so she's definitely gone through a lot with me not being present, especially since I was all that she knew. Okay. So it's been tough trying to be a parent and still be present.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Almost being stuck at the fact that she's no longer 6, but in my mind, she's still my baby. So it's like she's 19 now, trying to live her own life, and it's hard for me to be able to let her live her life because I definitely don't want her to ever lead down the path that I have. Just want her to be a better person than I was at her age.
Exactly, and that's understandable. Like, what is the relationship like with you and your daughter now that she says she's almost 20, right?
Yes, almost 20. We do not speak as consistently as I wish we would, but every time we do talk, we converse and I try to see what's going on in her life. And to be honest, she turns into that child where she just tells me everything, relishes all how she feels. And from day one since I've had her, I've always just been that type of parent to give her truth. I'm not the type of person who sugarcoats anything. So I taught her about life being unfair and just what she needed to know. And we just stay tight. Like, we have this system called JPay, which we can do email. So I send her pictures and I send her messages. And, sometimes every now and then I send her just a long letter because I want her to see that no matter what, no matter how much time I do, like, I always love you and that I'm here for you, regardless of how long of a time it might go with communication, we pick up right where we begin. I know that without a doubt, regardless of how the world portrays me, I know that my child is still proud of me because I'm her mother at the end of the day. So that's the most beautiful feeling that a person can have because a lot of people aren't that fortunate. A lot of people don't even have contact with their kids. So I'm blessed to even know that my daughter loves me and forgives me for the poor decision that I made.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Now, we got to get off into this, and let's talk about the poor decision that you made, Miss
Absolutely.
Gilbert. Now, on April the 3rd, 2008, Mr. Taran Helms?
Yes. Taran.
Okay, it's Taran. Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Taran Helms were indicted by a Mahoning County grand jury on
Yes, we were.
counts of attempted murder, felonious assault, aggravated robbery, and kidnapping, as well as 4 accompanying firearm specifications. Is that right, Miss
Yes.
Gilbert?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Now let me go a little bit further off into it. They got the indictment started.
Yes.
Okay, on March 24th of 2008, Mr. Joseph Kaluza was the manager at Kentucky Fried Chicken located on South Avenue. Your
Yes, he
co-defendant,
was.
Mr. Helms, and yourself planned on robbing Mr. Kaluza. Is that true?
Yes, that is true. But before you ask any more questions, all the listeners who are listening, this interview is not to deflect anything. It's not to put shine on my co-defendant or to bash him. And it's also not to take away the poor decision that caused Joseph Kaluza's ailment. This is just for you to see who I am today, that I'm not my mistakes. So I kind of want that to be the disclaimer.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Anything to be said or judged or any of that, I just want people to see who I am today.
Exactly.
So you can continue. Sorry for cutting you off.
And that's fine because that's what we're here for, to let the audience know the person today. Because my audience know that I once upon a time what was one of the worst people in the world, and I did time, and look at me today. So they do know that we can be reformed, and when I say we, us inmates can be reformed, and
Absolutely.
and when I say us, meaning myself as well. So that's why I reach out and talk to you guys, because I am one of you. Even though I'm out here, I was once where you are.
Absolutely.
So I'm still to them just a convict. So let's get a little bit farther off into it. Now, Miss Gilbert,
Okay. Yes.
could you please tell us what happened to lead up to this? Tell us.
Well, it was it was definitely a lot to lead up to it. At the time, I was 20 years old and I was in a relationship, and the relationship kind of had me losing sight of just everything that I grew up on. And my sister gave me a 30-day eviction notice, told me I had to be out. And at the time, I was working and I was getting grants from school, but for some reason it just seems like ends weren't meeting. So an idea was brought that we can get some money real quick, and I wasn't really for it, but to me it was just like, I have to do this because I don't want to be sleeping in a car with my daughter. And that was the only motivation that really led me to do it. Thinking back to it, of course, it's definitely not the wise idea, but at that time it just seemed like it was an all or nothing situation. So that's what kind of led me into even participating in this.
Okay, it's like this. We as parents, we would do anything for our children. So can't nobody fault, a parent for wanting to make sure that they're not sleeping outside with their child. But now,
Absolutely.
what led up to the situation, we can't excuse that, but we're gonna talk about that because
Absolutely.
I want my audience to know that you didn't pull a trigger. You wasn't
No.
a shooter at all in this. So I want them to know that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
let's
That was basically my one disclaimer, just making sure no one gets hurt. Like sometimes I refer to myself in those days just as a compassionate thugette because I wanted to basically get it how I live, so to speak, but I just didn't want it to see anyone hurt. Because in my mind, all I could think about is just the mental anguish that one had to go to getting robbed. So I didn't want to add no physical into doing that.
okay. Now, is it true, Miss Gilbert, that you and Mr. Helms, you guys planned this robbery for a few days? You guys surveillanced the KFC where Mr. Kaluza worked, and you guys followed him for a little bit. And is it true that you guys rehearsed everything, rehearsed the robbery and how it will go down? Is that true?
Yes, it actually is true. We did rehearse it, and then when it actually happened, it went nowhere according to plan. Nowhere according to plan at all.
Well, a lot of things never accordingly goes to plan.
They don't.
When we're doing something, it always look easy when we're planning it. But if we don't have a plan B, C, and D to go with A, B, C, and D to go with that plan, then
What the hell? You're absolutely right.
we'll be screwed. Okay, is it true, Miss Gilbert, that you pulled up in a 2002 blue and gray Saturn L series? You suddenly stopped in front of Mr. Kaluza, causing an accident with Mr. Kaluza's vehicle. Tell us what happened and to set that off in motion.
Yes, the whole plan was to create the accident right around the corner from the KFC, but because of traffic, it was very strenuous that day, so I basically had to weave in and out of traffic just to catch up to his car, and once I found his car, I swerved in front of him and pumped my brakes to cause an accident.
Okay.
And once that took place,
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Okay.
yes. So once that took place, I was kind of relieved because I had not caused the accident where I was supposed to. So at that time, I knew that the robbery wasn't going to happen. However, it still happened.
Okay.
It still happened.
Now let's see. Okay. Now, when you say that you were relieved because the accident didn't happen where it was supposed to happen, was that like, whoo, this is, like, okay, we're not gonna do this? Was that like you had regrets of wanting to even do this? Talk to us.
Yes, absolutely. That was the actual thought. I remember just praying and thanking God that, you know what, I'm glad that I couldn't have this accident where I was supposed to. In my mind, I'm just tallying up like, man, how messed up is his car? Okay, cool. I'll be able to work that off. That's fine. Like, if my sister still puts me out, fine. I'll just stay. It was like a moment of clarity. It was literally like everything that I should have thought of before even doing this, it would have alleviated the actual plan. However, it was just that one moment of clarity where I was just grateful that the robbery hadn't occurred, that the only thing that occurred was an accident, because that can be inexplainable. And to be honest, I wouldn't have to, there would be no damage, but a couple repairs to his vehicle. And I knew mine wasn't messed up at all, but I just was relieved that it didn't happen because I knew that with no life be in danger, the only thing I would have to do is call my insurance company.
Right.